Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages. A lot of the times we've talked about Disney's hypocrisy over the years and how they try to claim neutrality and a lot of different things. They claim they're diverse, inclusion, and equity, and yada, yada, yada. They're doing things for all the good sides of all the world out there, at least as far as they believe. And well, ladies and gentlemen, it's one of them situations where we have proven time and time again that Disney absolutely has an agenda. They do fall on one side of the aisle or another, and none of that should not surprise anybody concerning the kind of agenda-driven nonsense that they've been pushing. Obviously, we've heard a lot of rumors about things changing in the background and stuff like that. But if you didn't know, Disney absolutely owns the ABC network. And if you tuned into the very recent presidential election over there, you'll know there was some serious biases coming from the House of Mouse out there. And ladies and gentlemen, we now have an interesting whistleblower from inside of the Walt Disney Company out there confirming that yes, indeed, these biases were absolutely 100% true. And guess what? There's a lot of Disney executives out there that are not denying this in any way, shape, or form. And that, as far as I'm concerned, is absolute proof that all of this is true, and color us shocked there that the Walt Disney Company is shady and politically biased. And I know we don't normally talk about politics on this channel in any way, shape, or form, but this is a Disney whistleblower. This is a company that they own, and this is a major problem in the kind of biases and kind of the kind of very much. So we've seen the way Disney has been trying to drive the culture, right? In their opinion and their agenda and in all of that kind of stuff, they want to change the culture in a way that fits their own personal world image, at least a lot of the activists inside of the company. Well, this is just another example of that. It's all the same spirit of the age, whether it be in culture or video, whether it be in, Hollywood or video games or politics. It's all the same spirit of the age that we're all fighting against. It's the exact same evil. And this is another example that Disney will use their own news organizations to push that agenda as well, while trying to claim that they're fair and unbiased and all of this other kind of nonsense. Well, clearly that is not true in any way, shape, or form, and that just leads more credence to the disastrous dumpster fire that the Walt Disney Company currently finds its state in. So we're going to check out this article from thatparkplace.com, getting all of the juicy details. But before we do, if you do enjoy our content, hit that like button, share with all your friends, and subscribe or follow if you have not already, boys and girls, because we are grinding, we are growing, and I could not do that without every single one of you. Also, leave us a comment in the section down below. Does it surprise you at all that Disney used its absolute news organization, that Disney used its news organization as nothing more than a talking piece to push its agenda and try to push things politically the way they believed they needed to go? Or does this actually come as a shock to you and can't believe that Disney is actually trying to pull this kind of nonsense? I think we all know better at this point, boys and girls. So from thatparkplace.com and our dear sweet WDW Pro this time. Whistleblower fiasco. U.S. Senator demands Disney release all communications with the Kamala Harris campaign. Now, why did they ask this? Why did they ask this? The Walt Disney Company is facing more significant challenges to its position of unbiased news reporting. ABC News has been under significant pressure since it hosted the presidential debate earlier this month to reveal whether or not it facilitated an unfair advantage for one candidate over the other. Part of this scrutiny comes from the fact that the Disney-owned network repeatedly interrupted or fact-checked one candidate more than a dozen times, while never doing so to the other. After an alleged whistleblower affidavit was teased online, Disney and its moderators of the debate began to corroborate many of the accusations. And I mean, color us shocked there to anybody that actually watched this debate out there. It was pretty obviously how heavily biased it was one side or the other. And I mean, honestly, look at this chick. This guy's a tool. But I mean, look at it. She was just an aggressive little psychopath. She was literally just nothing more than a pit bull for the spirit of the age. Well, more like a chihuahua. But a chihuahua for the spirit of the age is trying to constantly nip at people's heels. It was insane. But check this out. So Stephen Batalago at the Los Angeles Times reported Lindsay Davis, wearing pink glasses while speaking to the Times over breakfast at the Ritz-Carlton in Philadelphia, said the decision to attempt to correct the candidates was in response to the June 27th CNN debate between Trump and President Biden, whose poor performance led to his exit from the race. Yeah, he looked like a delusional old man that couldn't put two sentences together. Once a whistleblower's affidavit landed, Disney has failed thus far to directly acknowledge and or refute the specific claims. Oh, color us shocked there on that one. There was in the way the whistleblower allegations have landed are certainly not traditional. Originally disseminated by a politically activist online account called DocNet YouTube, the claim goes on to assert that there are secret audio recordings which will collaborate the affidavit in the near future. Allegedly, the affidavit has been sent unredacted to a Republican Speaker of the House of Representatives, Mike Johnson. When asked about the allegations, the head of Disney's television and streaming, i.e. the woman in charge of ABC and streaming and everything else, Dana Walden, and a very close friend of Kamala Harris, she introduced the vice president to her husband, waffled. This, rather than outright deny the claim, she questions was not dignifying of a response. She would then go on to give platitudes regarding ABC without directly answering the question. Let's listen to this right here. And of course, it's the same guy that was on the red carpet asking about how Agatha all along Marvel was the gayest thing ever. Color us shocked. And listen to the words he used to. It's obviously his political bias as well.
Got to talk about Kamala Harris. Obviously, the far right has come after you.
The far right. The far right has come after her. Literally, you had CNN. You had CNN questioning and fact-checking ABC and calling out and saying that they were completely and totally biased in this. So I guess this guy considered CNN far right? Yeah, I guess so. Shows you how delusional these people are. Check this out. So listen to her response.
Got to talk about Kamala Harris. Obviously, the far right has come after you, saying you're friends with her, so the debate was biased. What do you say to that?
I really don't want to dignify it with much of a response.
Yeah, completely and totally sidestepping the question in every way, shape, or form. I don't really want to, because you sit there, you see that, right? You see that, yeah, because we know you got caught and you have no answer for this question whatsoever because you know you're politically biased. And she just goes on to talk about how everybody over at ABC is so professional and yada, 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 and they're just amazing, yada, yada, yada. It's all just a bunch of nonsense. Later, Disney would finally provide an official response to the allegations. The company shared, ABC News followed the debate both campaigns agreed on, and which clearly states no topics or questions will be shared in advance with campaigns or candidates. Oh, but there's a caveat with that. There are major problems with the statement. However, clearly the candidate who was interrupted fact-checked more than a dozen times, i.e. Trump, was unaware Disney would treat one candidate in a totally different manner than the other regarding moderator insertations. Had that been known, it's likely would have canceled the debate. I mean, it was so obvious what Disney was doing during this debate. It's just absolutely insane. And yeah, you'd think at some point by now, a lot of these people would have recognized this, but it's one of them situations where with Trump, it's one of those, he's just like, he's trying to go out there. He's trying to do debates. He tries to believe people. He tries to take people at face value. And that's just a major problem right now. Anybody involved in the Disney Corporation out there should have absolutely known that this was going to, that knows anything about the Disney Corporation, would have known this was going to be biased and completely and totally unreasonable. But I guess maybe he thought we would probably think the same things about CNN out there. But certainly the fact that they're owned by Warner Brothers now, which has already cleaned house by a lot of their woke nonsense out there and got rid of these people and tried to put this down. Zaslav has flat out said they want them to be more fair and unbiased and all of that kind of stuff over there. Clearly, Trump was expecting the exact same thing from ABC, and obviously that was not a problem. That did not happen in any way, shape, or form. Furthermore, a prior CNN debate, which largely shared the same rules with the ABC debate, was well known for having been agreed to feature no fact-checking from the moderators. It's certain that a campaign would never agree to be only one side fact-checked by moderators. Yes, and that's the only time. And it was funny, too, because even CNN, like in real time, was fact-checking Kamala Harris during this debate, while ABC only fact-check Trump. And kind of weird how that works. It's almost like Disney has a political bias. Additionally, the allegations in the affidavit are, among others, that Disney shared sample questions. Oh, sample questions. Well, that's not quite the same thing as the actual questions. It's just sample questions. It's like, well, this looks just like name your favorite character. This looks just like Luke Skywalker, except he acts nothing like Luke Skywalker. This looks like Captain Marvel, but she doesn't act anything like Captain Marvel, or on and on and on. I mean, it's just absolutely insane. This is the exact same kind of nonsense that they pull over and over again. So neither of the chief allegations seem to be refuted by the Disney company. That makes it look like so anyone who is closely following this could be a straw man retort. Disney might be better served if they can honestly deny the specific allegations, but they can't, right? They can't deny the specific allegations because they know they are lying. They know they are absolutely lying about all this stuff, that they did completely and totally tip this in favor of one side or the other. And that was pretty obvious because, I mean, literally you watch some of these canned response from, it was so obvious with Kamala. Now things are heating up. The UK Daily Mail is reporting that Congress has demanded that Disney turn over communications between itself and the Harris campaign. The outlet's Caitlin Call reported Congress is demanding that ABC News and Vice President Kamala Harris hand over any communications with the network and the campaign team related to the debate earlier this month. It comes after a sworn affidavit emerged from a whistleblower claiming to be a staffer with knowledge that ABC gave Harris an advantage in the debate with Donald Trump by providing her the questions ahead of time. Yeah, and a sworn affidavit. Everybody understands what that means, right? It means this is under the penalty of perjury. If this goes to court, this person will go to jail for lying on this. Probably very true. I don't think we've seen any sworn affidavits from anybody inside the Disney company now, have we? The Hill says that U.S. Senator Roger Marshall is requesting Disney provide these communications to his office. Marshall wrote in a letter to ABC News President I'm not going to even bother, and Harris's campaign manager, Julie Chavez Rodriguez, on debate night, it became abundantly clear that ABC News and its respective moderators had a biased agenda. The American people deserve transparency and accountability from the mainstream media and a full accounting of whether ABC News coordinated with the Harris campaign to skew the debate's questions and fact-checking in favor of the vice president. And obviously, anybody paying attention knows this is a duh, but it is always nice to have the actual evidence so we can do the right things that we need to do about these people. J.D. Vance, running mate of President Donald Trump, declared that this will be a national scandal if it turns out to be true. Well, it's only if you can end up proving it, and it's only going to be a scandal to those of us all actually paying attention. Everybody in Hollywood and all the rest of those folks are going to completely and totally ignore this and move on with their lives as their entire system burns down to the ground around them, and that's hilarious. All of this makes for more pressure than Disney was likely to expect in the aftermath of the debate. They are getting called out by senators now. Daily Mail reported Vance said Michigan. If it happened, it's disgraceful, he added. It should be a national scandal. It should be. One of the most vulnerable places that Disney might face on all of this is that Dana Walden, the likely next CEO of the company and head of Disney's TV and streaming, is very close with Kamala Harris. If Congress does indeed get involved with all of this with subpoenas and additional congressional oversight, could Walden be forced to hand over private communications that might be seen as a way of avoiding the corporate Disney emails and phone calls? And that could be very fascinating too. And that's why it shows you, if this is the person they think is most likely going to succeed Bob Iger, how much worse the things are going to get. The bias is not going to change whatsoever. Although we're not alleging any wrongdoing by anyone at Disney. I completely and totally allege wrongdoing by people at Disney. We know they did this. We absolutely know they did this beyond a shadow of a doubt. We just don't have the evidence yet, because guess what? Would this surprise anybody? It's the Walt Disney Company. They're the people who are trying to push a trans agenda on your children. Of course they fucking did this, pro. And I get you're coming at this from a legal perspective and all that kind of stuff, but come on, man. We know they did it. You know they did it. We all know they did it. You just have to put this like this in an article for legal reasons. I understand, Bubba, but yeah, we all know they did it. Also, with a senator now getting involved, it begs the question of whether or not the credibility has been assigned to the whistleblower report from the most powerful lawmakers in America. And yeah, that's what this comes down to. We have a Disney whistleblower who, under a sworn affidavit, is saying that absolutely Disney was biased. Absolutely, Disney essentially cheated in this debate, even though they hosted it, claiming that no, it was all going to be unbiased, everything was going to be fine, and yada, yada, yada. No. Disney is possessed by the spirit of the age, and a lot of their leaders very clearly are. I don't know why they thought they would be able to get away with this. I don't know why they thought they would pull it, because guess what? Actually, I know exactly why they thought they could get away with this. Because they still believe that everybody thinks exactly like they do. They do not realize that there are people within their own companies that do not agree with their agenda. And I know it's mind-boggling for most of them. There are people out there that disagree with them. That's why they try to label us as evil and racist and homophobes and sexist and all the rest of this BS nonsense. Labels that don't mean anything anymore because they've overused them. They believe we are evil. And therefore, anything they do, no matter how immoral it is, no matter how much it's considered cheating, no matter how distasteful it is, they believe winning at all cost is all that matters to them. Because if we're evil, it doesn't matter what they do to us. That's how they try to convince themselves inside of this world. Well, guess what? At the end of the day, 2 + 2 still equals 4. God is still on his throne in heaven. And yes, morals, rules, validness, fairness, and actual equality not equity. Actual equality does indeed matter. And Disney has just once again proven that they are an absolute hypocrite no matter how much they try to save face. And now we have a very spicy situation going forward that could end up exposing this Disney CEO, this Disney executive out there, and may even possibly put a huge chink in her armor going forward if she really does indeed plan on replacing Bob Iger. And boys and girls, that could lead to another huge change of the Walt Disney Company. So this is very fascinating. And at the end of the day, Bob, you and the rest of your company will get exactly what you deserve. Truth is the best disinfectant after all.